Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're going to be looking at something that's, I guess, pretty fundamental these days, data reliability.
Oh yeah. I mean, data is everywhere, right? It's how we make decisions, how businesses operate, everything. But knowing how much of that data we can actually trust, that's the real question. That's what makes this deep dive so important.
For sure, it's way more than just like, is this data right? We're
Hmm.
talking about making sure it's accurate, consistent, and complete over time. Makes you think, like, how different is that Spotify algorithm from, I don't know, a hospital keeping track of patient records? They both rely on data.
Right. Yeah, and you bring up a great point. Data reliability, it's not just about quality in one moment. It's about maintaining that trustworthiness over time. Think of it this way. Data quality is like checking your bank balance today. Data reliability is making sure that balance is, consistently accurate for months, even years.
So what happens when things go wrong? Like, what's the cost of unreliable data?
Oh, it's significant. Gartner actually, they estimate unreliable data costs businesses over $15 million a year.
15 million. Wow. So there must be some pretty big stories behind that number, right? Can you give us an example maybe of how unreliable data has really impacted a company?
Yeah, definitely. Back in 2023, there was this major pharmaceutical company, right? They had to recall like a huge amount of product. Turns out they had a small error in their manufacturing data, just a minor miscalculation in the dosage.
So a little data error, huge consequences.
Oh, absolutely. The recall ended up costing millions in lost revenue, not to mention damage to their reputation and even potential risks to patients.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty stark reminder of why this all matters. But before we get too deep into the impact, let's break down data reliability itself. Like, what are the core components? What are we looking for?
Well, first and foremost, you have accuracy. The data has to be, free of errors, free of inconsistencies, even the little ones.
So even something as small as a typo in a spreadsheet, that could snowball.
Absolutely. I mean, a misplaced decimal, an incorrect entry, anything like that can lead to some pretty big problems later on.
Accuracy, got it.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Okay, so then there's consistency. The data needs to be aligned across different sources, different systems. It's like imagine if your online bank statement didn't match your paper statement.
Yeah, that would be a headache for sure.
Hmm.
So accuracy, consistency. What about like timeliness? How does that factor in?
Timeliness is huge, especially now. I mean, data can become outdated so quickly these days. Using old information, it's like trying to navigate a city with a map from like 5 years ago. You're bound to get lost. Think about it. Relying on yesterday's stock prices to make decisions today could be disastrous.
Good point. Okay, so we've got accuracy, consistency, timeliness, anything else.
Ugh, yeah, can't forget completeness. We need the full picture, the whole story. Missing data, it's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces. You might get an idea of the image, but you'll never see the whole thing.
Or you might even end up with like a distorted view of what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. And lastly, we can't forget about accessibility. The data, it has to be available, right? Authorized users should be able to access it when they need it.
So it's about making sure the right people have the right information at the right time.
Precisely. Data locked away or difficult to retrieve. That undermines its reliability, even if it is accurate. So yeah, those five. Accuracy, consistency, timeliness, completeness, accessibility. Those are the cornerstones of data reliability.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get a much clearer picture of what we're talking about here. It's not just like, is this data correct? It's a whole system, a whole ecosystem that makes it trustworthy.
You got it. And that becomes super important when we start thinking about the impact data reliability has on our lives, on businesses.
And speaking of impact, I know we at Canarica have been doing some interesting work with AI agents. These agents, they rely a lot on data, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. They're data hungry. And how well they work, it depends entirely on how reliable that information is. Feed them bad data, you're going to get bad results. Doesn't matter how advanced the AI is.
So data reliability is just as important for these cutting edge technologies as it is for traditional business.
Yeah.
It really feels like this is something that touches, well, every part of our world these days.
It really does. And the consequences of getting it wrong, well, they can be pretty far-reaching. Let's dig a little deeper into why data reliability matters so much, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Lead the way. All right. For data reliability, it's important. We got that. But let's talk specifics, real world examples. Why does this stuff really matter?
Okay, well, think about how businesses make decisions. I mean, they use data for everything these days,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Marketing, product development, even hiring. But if that data is messed up, the decisions they make, well, those are going to be messed up too.
So a company could end up investing in like a product nobody wants
Hmm.
or launching a marketing campaign that completely misses the mark, all because of bad data.
Exactly. And the financial impact, I mean, it can be enormous. There was, remember that thing a while back, major retailer, they had to recall a whole bunch of products because their algorithm, it was faulty. Ended up costing them like, what, over $10 million? All because of unreliable data at the core of it.
Ouch. Yeah. That's got to hurt. And we talked about AI earlier, how much it relies on data. What happens when you feed AI bad information?
It's like imagine trying to teach a kid with a textbook that's full of errors, right? They're going to learn the wrong things, make the wrong assumptions. With AI, that could mean, I don't know, biased algorithms that make things unfair, bad predictions that lead to bad decisions, even autonomous systems malfunctioning, potentially dangerous stuff.
So it's not just financial risk, it's ethical concerns, even safety concerns, right? This is way bigger than I initially thought.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it goes beyond just business, Think about healthcare. Accurate patient data. That's crucial for diagnoses, treatment, research. Imagine a misdiagnosis because the medical records are wrong. Life-altering consequences.
Yeah, that's a bit scary to think about. I know in finance, data reliability is a huge deal too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, incorrect financial data that can mess up credit scores, lead to fraud, even regulatory violations. The whole financial system, it depends on that data being trustworthy. Any cracks in that foundation, well, the impact can be pretty massive.
Okay, I'm getting it now. This matters
Yeah.
a lot. But maintaining data reliability, that sounds pretty tough, especially with all the things that can go wrong. What are some of the biggest challenges that organizations face?
Well, one of the most common ones is data silos. Different departments, they might have their own systems, their own databases with no real way to share or integrate that data. It's like trying to put together a puzzle, but everyone has different pieces and nobody knows what the final picture is supposed to look like.
So you end up with like a bunch of fragmented information that's difficult to make sense of and potentially unreliable, right?
Exactly. And then there's always human error. We all make mistakes. But when it comes to like data entry or management, even a small slip up can cause a chain reaction of problems.
Yeah, I can imagine. Transposing a number,
Sure.
misspelling something, that seems so easy to do, especially when you're dealing with huge amounts of data.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then there's keeping that data up to date. The world changes so fast. Using outdated data, it's kind of like using last year's weather forecast to plan your outfit today. Not going to be very helpful, is it?
So it's not just about getting the data right initially, it's about making sure it stays right, stays relevant over time.
You got it. And another thing is sometimes there's just a lack of standardization. Different teams, different departments, they might be using different formats, definitions, systems. Makes it almost impossible to compare things accurately.
It's like everyone's speaking a different language. How are you supposed to communicate effectively?
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Standardization, it's key. It ensures that the data can be shared, integrated, analyzed across the whole organization. And of course, we can't forget about cybersecurity.
All right. Data breaches, cyber attacks, those are a big deal these days.
Huge. And they can completely destroy data reliability. I mean, if your data is compromised, if someone tampers with it, it doesn't matter how accurate it was originally, right? It's no longer trustworthy.
Right. So maintaining data reliability, it's a multifaceted challenge, internal threats, external threats, a lot to think about. But I mean, it's not hopeless, right? There must be ways to address these challenges.
Right. It's not insurmountable. There are definitely strategies, solutions that organizations can put in place to make their data more reliable. And luckily, technology is, it's playing a bigger and bigger role in making those solutions more accessible, more effective.
Okay, that's good to hear. So how do we tackle these roadblocks? What are some of the most effective solutions?
Well, one of the most important things is to establish a really strong data governance framework. It's about setting up policies, procedures, standards for how data is collected, stored, managed, used across the whole organization. Think of it like a constitution for your data, make sure everyone's on the same page, treats data as a valuable asset.
So it's about like setting clear rules, clear guidelines, making sure everyone's accountable.
Exactly. A data governance framework, it helps address things like data silos, lack of standardization. It creates a unified approach to managing data.
Makes sense. But
Yeah.
implementing something like that, that sounds pretty complicated, especially for like bigger organizations.
It can be, yeah. It's a complex process. But the benefits, they far outweigh the challenges. And there are experts out there like us, like we at Canerica, who specialize in helping organizations develop and implement data governance solutions. We're here to help organizations navigate those complexities, make sure their data is treated responsibly, ethically.
So for those who are feeling a little overwhelmed, help is available. Don't have to go it alone.
Nope. And beyond just data governance, technology is playing a huge role in enhancing data reliability. There are some really amazing data observability tools out there these days. They can help organizations monitor their data in real time, identify problems, even alert them to potential issues before they cause any real damage.
Oh, like those data detectives we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. Tools like Monte Carlo, SL Data, they use things like statistical analysis, machine learning to identify anomalies, drifts, inconsistencies. They're like an early warning system for data reliability issues.
That sounds really useful. It's like having a team of experts constantly watching your data for any sign of trouble.
It really is. And another powerful technique is data lineage tracking. That's basically mapping out the whole journey of the data within the organization, from where it came from all the way to its final destination.
So instead of just seeing the data as it is now, you can actually trace back its history, see where it came from, how it was transformed, who's interacted with it along the way.
Exactly. Data lineage tracking, it provides transparency, accountability. It makes it so much easier to identify the root cause of data issues and prevent them from happening again.
That sounds incredibly helpful, especially when you're trying to figure out like what went wrong with a complex data problem. That's like a breadcrumb trail leading you back to the source of the issue.
I like that. Breadcrumb trail, yeah. And then there are strategies like regular data cleansing, identifying and correcting errors, removing duplicates, making sure the data is consistently formatted.
So it's like giving your data a good spring cleaning, getting rid of all the clutter and the grime that's built up over time.
Exactly. Data cleansing, it helps maintain accuracy, consistency, prevents those small errors from turning into big problems. And the best part is a lot of this can be automated. There are tools and techniques that can handle a lot of these processes, which saves time and reduces the risk of human error.
Automation sounds like a game changer. Can you talk a bit more about the role of AI and automation in all of this, in maintaining data reliability?
Oh, yeah, definitely. AI and automation, they're becoming really powerful tools in this space. For example, you've got AI-powered data validation tools. They can actually detect anomalies, missing values, inconsistencies, all in real time. It's like having a super-powered spell checker for your data.
That's amazing. It's like having like an AI assistant constantly checking your work, catching those mistakes before they become problems. And what about automation specifically?
Automation, it can streamline a lot of the data management processes, data cleaning, standardization, integration. That not only improves efficiency, but it also reduces the chance of human error creeping in. Tools like Talend, Apache Airflow, they're great examples of how automation is transforming data management.
It really seems like AI and automation they're becoming essential for anyone who's serious about data reliability. They can handle the heavy lifting and let the humans focus on the more strategic stuff, right?
Exactly. It's not about replacing human expertise. It's about making us better, making us more efficient at managing data and ensuring its reliability.
You've talked a lot about Microsoft Purview. What is it and why is it so important in all of this?
Oh, Microsoft Purview it's a game changer. It's this comprehensive data governance solution. Think of it as a one-stop shop for managing and governing data across an entire organization. It helps you discover your data, classify it, understand its lineage, protect sensitive information, and ensure compliance with regulations all in one place.
So it's like a central command center for all things data governance.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. It helps organizations really get a handle on their data landscape, so they can make data-driven decisions with confidence.
Sound like a valuable tool for anyone who's, really serious about data reliability.
It is. We've seen firsthand how it can completely transform an organization's approach to data governance and significantly improve their data reliability. And along with these powerful platforms like Purview, there's a whole world of other tools out there, each one with its own, strengths and specialties.
Yeah, we've talked about Monte Carlo and Excel data for data observability and Talent for data integration and quality. What are some other options?
Oh, there's Informatica Data Quality, which it's been around for a while, a real heavy hitter in the data quality space. They offer a whole suite of tools for data profiling, cleansing, validation. They've been helping organizations improve their data reliability for years.
And I know open source tools like Apache Airflow, they're becoming pretty popular for managing data
Oh
pipelines.
yeah, for sure. Airflow it's fantastic for scheduling, monitoring, managing those complex data workflows and make
Mhm.
sure the data flows smoothly and reliably between different systems. And there are so many others out there, each one addressing specific needs, specific challenges. The key is, finding the right combination of tools and strategies that fit your organization's unique data landscape and their goals.
So it's not a one size fits all kind of thing.
Nope. Data reliability, it's a journey, not a destination. It takes a commitment to constant improvement, adaptation, and being open to, new tools, new approaches as they come along.
So it's a dynamic field, constantly evolving.
It is. And it's
Yeah.
only going to become more important as our world becomes, well, more and more data driven.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about solutions, technologies, but how do we actually measure data reliability? What are the metrics, the KPIs that organizations should be keeping track of?
That's a great question. There are a bunch of important metrics that can help organizations figure out how they're doing, how reliable their data really is. One of the most basic ones is data accuracy rate. It's basically just what percentage of your data is actually correct.
So are we hitting the mark? Seems pretty straightforward, but obviously important.
Yeah, absolutely. Then there's the data completeness score. That measures whether you have all the necessary values in your data sets for analysis, decision making, all that.
So are there any missing pieces of the puzzle that could mess up our insights?
Exactly. Then we have the data consistency index. This one checks if the data is aligned across different systems, reports, databases.
So is our data speaking the same language, so to speak?
Yeah, exactly. Because inconsistency, that leads to confusion, conflicting conclusions, all sorts of problems. Another key one is error resolution time. That tracks how long it takes to identify, report, and fix data problems. The faster you can fix things, the less disruption, the faster you can get back on track.
So it's a measure of how quickly you can recover from a data mishap.
Yep. And then there's data integrity score. That looks at whether the data has been compromised or tampered with at any point. Super important for sensitive information that needs to be protected.
So we're making sure our data hasn't been corrupted or contaminated along the way.
Precisely. And lastly, there's duplicate data percentage. This just measures how much redundant data there is within a data set. Duplicates can really mess up analysis, create inefficiencies, so it's important to, find them and get rid of them.
Okay, so we've got a whole toolbox of metrics here, but what does all this mean for people, for businesses? How does it translate to real-world impact?
That's what it all comes down to. Right. Let's take an example everyone can relate to. Online shopping.
Perfect. We all do that.
Okay, so you're browsing an e-commerce site, you see something you like, you add it to your cart, you put in your payment info, click buy. Simple.
That's far so good.
Yeah.
But where does data reliability come in?
Well, behind the scenes, there's a whole chain of data-driven processes happening. Your order information, it has to be captured accurately, sent to the retailer system. Inventory levels need to be checked and updated. Payment processing needs to be secure, reliable. And the shipping information, that has to be accurate and complete so your package goes to the right place.
So if the data is off, if it's unreliable, at any point in that process, things can go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. You could have delays in processing, you might get the wrong items. You could even be a victim of fraud if your payment information is compromised.
Yeah, not good.
Right. It really shows how data reliability, or the lack of it, can directly impact us, in our everyday lives. And it's not just online shopping either. Data reliability, it's in our medical records, our financial transactions, even the AI systems we use.
I'm starting to see how it's not just a technical issue. It's something that affects everyone.
Exactly. And as our world relies more and more on data, well, the importance of data reliability, it's only going to grow.
So we've talked a lot about the why of data reliability, the how of making sure our data is actually trustworthy. But let's get practical for a second. What can people do like in their everyday lives to navigate this whole data world?
It's a good question. I mean, we're not just, passively consuming data anymore. We're creating it all the time. Every click, every search, every purchase, it all leaves a trail.
It can feel kind of overwhelming sometimes, knowing all that information is out there. Where do we even start?
Start small. Think about like the information you put online. Double check those forms before you hit submit. Don't just blindly trust those auto-filled
Oh
fields.
yeah, I've almost sent orders to old addresses because I didn't realize the autofill was wrong.
Happens to all of us. And be critical about the sources you use, the information you rely on. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, that's easier said than done these days. How do we deal with all this information overload?
Look for sources you trust, organizations, publications with a good track record of accuracy, fact-checking. Fact-checking websites can be helpful too.
And I guess it's important to not just rely on one source, right? Get multiple perspectives, even ones that challenge your own views. That helps to get a more balanced understanding.
Definitely. Confirmation bias is a real thing. It's easy to just seek out information that confirms what we already believe, and that can lead you down a pretty dangerous path.
So being willing to be wrong is actually a good thing for data hygiene. It's about staying curious, staying critical, even about our own assumptions.
I like that. Exactly. Now, let's think about the data that we create. Fitness trackers, smartwatches, social media, even our smart home devices. It's all generating data all the time.
And that data, it's valuable to somebody, right?
Right.
Whether it's being used for research, marketing, or even, training AI models.
Exactly. So understanding your privacy settings, who has access to your data and what they can do with it, that's crucial. It's about being an informed participant in this whole data-driven world.
It's like being mindful of what's in the food you eat, but for our digital lives, we need to know what we're putting out there and what the consequences might be.
That's such a good analogy. Read those terms and conditions, as boring as they are. Choose apps and services that value transparency, that are mindful of data privacy.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. If a company's data policy is confusing or seems kind of shady, that's a red flag right there.
Oh, absolutely. Transparency is key. Data reliability, it's a shared responsibility. From the big tech companies all the way down to our individual choices, we can all do our part to make this data ecosystem more reliable, more trustworthy.
This whole deep dive it's been really eye-opening.
Right.
I'm realizing how much we just take data for granted and how important it is to pay attention to the data we use and the data we create.
It's not about being paranoid, it's about being informed, it's about being proactive.
So it's like good hygiene, but for data. The little goes a long way.
Exactly. Data reliability, it's an ongoing thing, and we're all in this together.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We hope you learned some valuable stuff today. Got some practical tips for dealing with all this data.
And if you want to learn more, explore this even further, head over to the Canerica website. We've got tons of resources and info on how we can help organizations make their data more reliable.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay data savvy.